Hi everyone, it's William, and let's see, I shaved my head today. It was overdue. So now you see the real me fully. Okay, this is the 1921 Grand Duke Dmitri Diary series. And as I mentioned in the last video, we are finished with the short videos for this period, with the short diary entries for this period, and we're into one of the long, very expressive ones. And so we'll be doing it in parts, not just one or two parts, but multiple parts. And this is where our role really comes in as Dmitri's confidants. And yeah, since he's no longer with us, maybe confidants is the wrong word, and let's say witnesses, because he really wanted someone to witness these things. I'm convinced of that. That was part of the purpose in writing his diaries, to open up about things that he didn't feel like he could talk about with people. So we have that role now. I'm beginning to sound like a missionary, aren't I? But, you know, if you are reading something about him or are involved in a discussion about the Romanovs where he comes up, then you will have a perspective that perhaps other people don't have about what was really going on with him. Hi, Duke. Okay, so we've jumped from the 14th of February to the 28th of February, 1921. It's a Monday. We're in Copenhagen at the English mission, and bear in mind that in Copenhagen itself, on the modern Western calendar, it was actually March. Okay, here we go. I've decided to leave for Paris tomorrow. I've come to the end of my short stay in Copenhagen. I'm frightfully sorry to leave, and for many reasons. I lived amazingly well here. Simply put, I had a good time. And it's been a long time since I allowed myself to enjoy life as easily and freely as here. I myself don't know why. Of course, my hosts played a big part in that. They treated me amazingly well, as always, and just bent over backwards to amuse and please me. And I have to say, they succeeded brilliantly. Then there were the Danes themselves, who were frightfully kind to me and were constantly arranging parties and dinners for me. From the very first days of my stay here, they all somehow found out that I don't dance at big balls, and so they began to organize little evening events in smoking with gramophone music instead of orchestras. And at such events, I did dance, of course, and had genuine, heartfelt fun. I repeat, it's been a very long time since time passed so sweetly for me. Of course, there is another reason for the fact that the days I spent in Copenhagen seemed particularly good to me and somehow blended into one rosy impression. I spoke briefly about that. Oh, that's my little pug mix. I don't have a pet pig. I don't want to restart, so I'm going to return to this paragraph in the diaries. Of course, there is another reason for the fact that the days I spent in Copenhagen seemed particularly good to me and somehow blended into one rosy impression. I spoke briefly about that in my previous long diary entry, but then I was somehow afraid of myself and wrote hesitantly. Now, I'm ready to talk about it a little more, because it's only on these pages that I can truly openly discuss the unexpected experience that took possession of me. Okay, so those of you who listened to the diary entries from 1906 and 1907 will remember that there was a poetic side to Dmitri, and sometimes more than others, if he was in a beautiful natural landscape or something like that, and that poetic side of him is coming out a little bit here, and that wistful side of him. And yeah, it's easy to believe reading this, what he says about the fact that he regrets leaving and the reasons for that. Well, the Marlings, as always, just embraced him like a family member. And that was really certainly since the revolution, and maybe even you could say before the revolution in Russia. That was for a long time the best experience he'd had of being part of a family. A little bit complicated, as we've talked in the past, because of his relationship with Lucia. But Sir Charles was absolutely a father figure to him. Lucia could be a mother figure to him. And as you recall, he told us at the beginning of all this that the reason he didn't and had hesitated and dragged his feet about going to Denmark was because he was afraid that there would be friction with Lucia. But she is clearly on her best behavior this time. Maybe she's just over it. And so he really feels stress-free. And he feels like everybody is being kind to him. And maybe this seems odd, but I can tell you, if we go back and read the diary entries going all the way back to 1917, and especially when he first landed in London in 1919 and 1920, you're going to see that he wasn't treated warmly. There were people who treated him warmly, and the sort of society people and nobility in London, they did their best. But as far as the British royal family, aside from the Battenbergs, nobody was really trying to reach out to him or offer help or make him feel at home. And going all the way back, he had the Marlings in Persia, but of course he was under great stress there because of what was going on in Russia, and he didn't know what was going to happen. He didn't know, if his sister was safe, if his father was safe. In London and in Paris, it's been a constant stress over money, just constant. And also, in neither France or England did he have attention from people like, in this instance, the Danish foreign minister, or anybody meeting him at the train station from the government or from the diplomatic circles. So yeah, it's really no wonder. It's not only the entertainment events and the sightseeing and the things that were arranged for him, but it was just that he could finally relax and be stress-free, maybe for the first time since the war broke out. So, I think the emphasis that he puts on this is very apt, and his poetic way of phrasing it. I had genuine, heartfelt fun, and the time passed so sweetly for me. So that's not typical for him, that kind of language, although, yes, he had that poetic side, so we do encounter it from time to time, and he's touched by the fact that they accept that he's not dancing when he goes to balls or at big events, and so they're trying to arrange things for him on a smaller scale. Well, he certainly was going to balls, as we know, but there were all these little events as well. Now, I left the word smoking, which he uses. He says they began to organize little evening events in smoking. So smoking basically meaning a tuxedo, black tie, a dinner jacket, however you would put it. The word in Russian, in Cyrillic letters, is smoking. It's a borrowed word, and I'm not sure if that is the word that the British use then, or perhaps even now, for formal evening clothes. But that's, I left it. I could have put tuxedo. Okay, so the first reason is for this good time that he had is the Marlings. The second reason for the good time he had is the Danes and how accommodating they were and touching. The third reason, we don't have time to get into that today because he's going to be writing about it at length, but of course you know what it is. It's Marie Louise. It's this girl that he's met. And if you watched the videos for the long diary entry of the 15th good Lord, of February, then you know that what he says here is true, that he wrote about Marie Louise, but he couched it in terms where he was telling us, his future witnesses, that he shouldn't be writing about her. He was putting the cart ahead of the horse, and he had such deep misgivings that he was kind of even ashamed of himself for writing about her, but he couldn't help it because there was nobody that he could talk to about it. So now things have moved forward, and he says, I'm ready to talk about it a little more. And then he informs us that it is only on these pages that I can truly, openly discuss the unexpected experience, and he says the experience that took possession of me. So Dmitri could be a little obsessive in his thinking, and he had to watch out for that. He was conscious of that. He knew he had to watch out for that, especially when he was in Tehran. He wrote about that the minute he started to have disturbing thoughts, disturbing in the sense of really worrying him and pointing him in the direction of one of his black depressions, as he called them, he had to intervene immediately, or he would kind of become obsessed with those things then. So this experience took possession of me, and it's equivocal. There are good things about it, and there are bad things about it. We already know this, but let's give him another chance to talk about it and to fill us in on some new developments. So you'll definitely want to come back for that, and I hope to see you next time. All right, bye.